Historical Federal Workforce by Algustus Lee. In this assignment, we were to obtain a set of data from the assignment and open it up with the RStudio source editor. This was completed easily. However, the dataset, it was not very easy to visualize what was received, but it was a good way of being able to inspect all of the data. Our data, as we can see from the RStudio, was showing off all of the years from 1962 to 2014 and shows how many people in the thousands were hired from the executive branch, the military, and the legislative and judicial branch, as well as the total number of personnel. Without visualization, it is hard to make sense of this data at all. However, with visualization, you can tell that everything has been relatively on the decline. As at the top in the blue, you can see the total, as well as the military, which has bell-shaped curves, many bumps and spikes. The only stable-looking branch being the executive branch, and the minuscule judicial and legislative branch combined. The easiest of these to track is the military personnel, which we will go into more. With the military personnel, you can see the first spike at 1968, in which we had a pretty big jump in military personnel being hired. This was largely due to it being during the biggest draft in U.S. history since World War II, otherwise known as the Vietnam War. As the war began to end, as we can see at 1970, it goes on a very sharp decline as many less people were being enlisted. It began a peacetime era. The next time that we see a small resurgence would be around 1990, which was during a bell-shaped curve known as the Gulf War and Operation Desert Storm. However, very swiftly, it ends again because the rest of the 1990s was a relatively peaceful era in which military recruitment hit an all-time low. And then at about 2001, you can see it spike a small amount before going into another small dip before rising up again now as the Iraq War began after 9/11. Now, the legislative and judicial branch, those two are not as important in this case, but you can see they are relatively stable. The legislative and judicial, you can see at the bottom, it's slowly beginning to rise, but very, very slowly. Almost not at all. Its change is very difficult to even realize is there. As for the executive branch, it only seems to really spike up as the military does. As you can see, it follow itself. Unlike the military, however, it seems from the trend line that the executive branch seems to be slowly going up, but only at about the same rate as the legislative and judicial branches. Overall, however, across all branches, jobs are declining. It does rise and fall with the military, which seems to have more than it has more than the military has more than the executive, legislative, and judicial branches at once. That is the data that has been gleaned from the data set. Thank you for your time.